Jessica Lewis. I'm in Eugene, Oregon, and I'm here with Konstantine Ivanov. And why don't you pronounce it in your language, Konstantine?
Yeah, it's right.
Okay, it's right. Okay,
Yes.
Konstantine is in the Ukraine. Can you tell us where that is? Can you tell us your geographic area in relationship to the west coast of the
Yeah,
United States?
yeah, we're situated on the eastern part of the Europe, the most eastern country, near the Black Sea, and we're pretty far from US, but nevertheless, we have a lot of connections. Thanks, I know Jessica, and it helped to meet nice people in the US also. So the world is closer than we think.
Well, I think the world with the internet, we're able to all connect, and I think actually this technology is pretty amazing that we can sit and talk to each other in different parts of the world and interview each other. So I'll talk a little bit about the Time to Wine broadcast. The Time to Wine broadcast is a live broadcast featuring experts in wine, social media marketing, leadership, and marketing. And each speaker is featured on LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter, and it's at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I was just approved for LinkedIn Live. The live stream broadcast is every other week at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, and Twitter. So today we're going to talk to Konstantine Ivanov, and he is in the Ukraine near the Black Sea, and he is an export marketing manager. He's worked at Vitmark and for 8 years and 6 years in the wine industry as well. And he works in foreign trade on global markets and has also worked extensively as a brand manager in the wine industry. So can you tell us a little bit about your work history?
Yeah, so for now it's 8+ years work for me. I from the very starting I was inspired with marketing all the time, even from school. I like that how every company doing this and doing that. So it was that's what I was looking from my job. And the first company I was working, it was a wine company that gave me a lot of experience. Because wine is a product that you want to work with. It's interesting. You meet interesting people. You work with a live product. So 6 years with wine, a lot of exhibitions, different brands were launched for export markets. Mostly I was working only for export because Ukrainian teams doing their job, I do the export. And now I switched to another company. We're doing juices, baby food, plant-based milk, so it's more commodities, but we have it's also interesting experience, totally another from the wine, but most of the things work both for these industries I was working with.
What's the size of your country in relationship to some of the states in the United States or some of the countries in Europe?
I need to check. We're the biggest country in Europe for now. I think it's about 2 or 3 states.
Okay, so larger than like
It
California,
depends. Yeah,
Washington, and Oregon. So it's a big
yeah,
piece of land.
yeah. We have wider lands, but not of them are with the cities. So the main cities are Kiev, the capital, and Odessa, Vinnytsia, and Dnipro. Odessa is situated on the sea, so it's a port city. We have a lot of importing, exporting products here, and the history of Odessa, it's a very long story. It started from 250 years before the city was founded, but the history of the city is starting from ancient Greek, when they have settlements here. We're founding Greek amphors here, and so people were making wine on this territory even in ancient times, in BC.
Yes, and then I was teaching in Europe. I was teaching wine marketing in Europe, and one of the things when I was studying the history of wine that was so interesting is the wine and Italy, during the Black Plague and some of these other periods of time, the wine was actually a beverage that was people were drinking as a household beverage because the
Yeah.
water in the area was contaminated, and so people were having
Yes,
to drink
exactly.
wine because of the alcohol content for
Yes,
their
it was more
daily
healthy. Yes,
intake. It was
it's easier
healthier,
to
which is kind
store.
of an interesting idea
Yeah.
too. So,
Our wine
go ahead.
region in Odessa is the same as Bordeaux. So we have the same Sundays, but we have different soil, of course. So
So,
it's also
so
affect
you have a big
product.
wine region where you are? It's like Bordeaux.
Uh, no, it's not the same big. It's even not twice or 10 times. So it's during the USSR after it was when Ukraine started. So we have a lot of programs that decrease the wine industry in our countries. So for now in Ukraine, it's about 4 or 5,000 hectares of vineyards for now in
Well, that's
whole
interesting,
Ukraine.
and we'll talk a little bit more about that too when we go into your background. So, tell us about. So, you worked with Wine and Love, which is a big brand where you are, and you were doing. So, tell us all. Were you
Yeah,
doing labels? And he had a very difficult time trying to ship me wine. We had an
yeah,
interesting experience with that. I think it got to me, and I really enjoyed it, and I was serving it to a lot of people. So, okay. So, talk to us about your experience in the wine industry and the wine industry in your area, as well as your brand labeling and all of the things
hmm
that you've done with Wine and Love.
yeah. I will tell about the One and Love mostly because it's the latest and the most inspirational project that I was making with my friend. He came to me with the idea to make wine with a love story on a label and love story in coupages of the product. And we developed the label, we developed the stories, and the people don't like product on its own. They want something over this product. So the story or combining with the product, it's a good combination that sell and easy to market. And for now, we have shipments to different countries, but the program of relaunching of this wine is has started in Ukraine. So I think in half a year we will, not me, but my friend who is in charge with it, will launch it on US also. So when it will be on US shelves, I definitely give you a place how to buy it.
Do you have anything? So, for example, do you have studies that show what will work in different countries? So, for example, when you put together labels with a romance, does that work particularly well in your country? Is there something about your country that resonates with that perhaps it wouldn't in other countries, or did you find that it resonated well everywhere?
In Ukraine, there is no such big culture of wine drinking. It's
Okay.
more vodka and beer because of the history, of course. And sparkling wines are more popular, but still wines are now developing. We have a lot of import. Sorry,
You
sun.
have a lot of sun coming in.
Yeah, we
It's
have a
still light
lot.
there now.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a lot of imported products from the Italy, Germany, from all over the world. So people can buy product from abroad and Ukrainian product from the same price, and sometimes they choose imported product that also give some problems to market on local market. But our wineries did next. They built products on the tourism. So they make winery, with some idea. It's high technology production, or it's a wine and art project, or it's just family winery. That's sort of some unique varieties. So everyone found their niche, but most of them it's something unique, something that we don't have from the other countries, and this work here in Ukraine. For the love story, it's working good on Asian markets because they love this idea of love. It's good thing to make a gift to your girlfriend or someone who you like, and I think this will work also in Europe and the US as well.
Okay. So it is exported. Where all are you exporting it? You're exporting it to Asia?
Most of the export, yes, it's Asia, it's China.
Okay, China. Okay.
The second market is also our closer countries. So it's like Poland, Bulgaria, and we have some shipments to US, but it's just 2-3 containers for now.
Okay. And then what types of grapes do you have where you're located? What are the specialties there?
Yes, we have classical varieties, of course, but they have their specifics because of the soil. It's pretty unique. We, as Ukraine is one of the biggest also grain exporters and grain producers, we try to develop also wine on the most on better soils for wine. Each Cabernet or Merlot have their specifics, but we have local varieties such as Odessa Black or Sukholimansky that were selected here in Odessa, and they have their own character with color, with tannins, and Sukholimansky, it's white wine. It's more fresh. It's closer to Sauvignon Blanc, like New Zealand style. This one, and Odessa Black is close to. I think it's combining the Malbec and Carmener, something like this. Is strong for with the high tannins and intensive colors.
It's wonderful too. I've had it. I love it. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about, so you and I both have dealt with many other cultures. It's what would you say the primary difference between your culture that you see between Europe and the United States?
I can say that we're different even from Europe and from US both. As we have a lot of with Asian culture historically, so most of the people like to show how they live, but to show that they want to be more than they are. This is kind of a problem for the people, but we are honest, and it's easy to deal with the people on the street if you need something, or if you need your friends help, so you can just call them and say, hello, I need help, or let's meet. It's no problem. It's easier to connect with people. In Europe, I found the kind of difficulty with this because people are more stricted to time, but it's depends also on the countries. I have a lot of friends from Ukraine that living in Europe, and they they're still the same, like with Ukrainian culture. But in US and Europe, people are more open. Like if you don't know them, they're most of the time they're smiling to you. So that's not that I cannot find here in Ukraine. You're not expecting bad things from the people if you are in US and in Europe, so you feel more comfortable in this question. But each culture is interesting. I was living in the US for half a year, and the people that I met, I still remember all of them. It was a really interesting experience. Most of them was natives or like Americans who immigrated from Europe, or Jewish people who are living in New York for a very long time. So everyone have their own culture, and I cannot find the only one way how the culture is in US. So it depends on the coast. I was living in the Washington DC for that
you
year,
lived in Washington,
and
D.C.?
yeah,
Oh,
for half a year, yes, and then moved to New York for 2 weeks to my friends.
and then I think the thing with the United States is there's so many cultures within the United States. So I live on the
Exactly.
other side of the country, and I would say it's dramatically different from. I grew up. Do you know where Florida is?
Yes.
I grew up in Alabama, and so where I live now is 100% different from where I grew up, and I would imagine it's 100% different from New York as well. So it's a very counterculture city, so kind of a hippie type city, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a very casual, laid back city as opposed to some of these other big some of these big cities that are very cosmopolitan. This one isn't the most cosmopolitan city in the world, but it's interesting anyway. So, okay, so now that we're talking about different cultures, what are some of your funny culture shock stories?
Maybe
Some
like told you from the West Coast, when I have negotiations with Western clients in LA, so they're talking with me like this. Oh, hello, my friend. Hello, drinking smoothies. And if you talk with from the clients from New
drinking
York,
smoothies.
they are stricted, sitting like straight, drinking coffee from Starbucks.
Yes, that's
So,
quite common. Well, it hasn't been common lately. It was quite common before, and then when the COVID started, there was not much Starbucks drinking. We were all kind of sitting at home doing everything. So, okay, so culture shock with the United States is we're all drinking Starbucks and smoothies and laid back.
no. It's a difference from the
It's
clients.
pretty.
It's
It's pretty
just
true. Okay,
but
it's
I
also
like.
interesting to hear about your own culture because and sometimes you can see your own culture when you're in another culture, but it's interesting to know what your culture is. Okay. So, and then other culture shock experiences you've had?
Maybe not the culture, but when the foreigners came here in Ukraine, they found a problem with language because for now not everyone know English, and sometimes they get in a curious situation with people who don't understand them, and sometimes it get to funny stories when I found people on the street wondering how to get this and there, and sometimes it gets to the friendship. For example, I have two friends that I met on the street. They was missed. It was a time when there was no maps on the phone, so helping them, and now we are good friends and meeting each other in different countries for now. And for about Ukraine, so as I told, if you need help, you can call your friends anytime. 12 p.m. I need a car. I need a help. I need a hand. Come on. And if it's your friend, so he will come anytime and help you. This is what we got here, that people are connected to each other, and especially now when we have these political problems, the people are more connected about our Ukrainian. And if you saw the Eurovision disc contest. So we put the song with a lot of folk ideas, and these folk ideas now are all over the Ukrainian market in advertising in the shops. So more and more products and things are made with Ukrainian stylistic, and this work here now a lot because we want to unite over one big idea as Ukrainian nation, and for now it's very inspirational for me, especially.
So just so I understand, it's the culture of Ukraine, the folk. The folk is now being marketed. The culture of Ukraine is more predominant right now. Is being marketed
in the music, yes, in the products.
The music, okay. So a lot of the culture and the history and is being preserved in the modern culture. Is that what you're saying? Kind of. That's actually nice. Sometimes in the United States, we don't know what our culture is, and our culture started with American Indians coming, and most of us are from Europe. So the American Indians are kind of the culture that they sort of put the carpet over there, but we don't have a predominant culture that's necessarily talked about. So it's kind of interesting to take a look at what is our culture, and our culture is, and what do we do within our culture. One of my culture shock experiences is my husband's from Brazil. And in Brazil, in the United States, so if we say 9 o'clock, and this is different in different countries too. If we say, let's meet together at 9 o'clock, we pretty much mean let's meet together at 9 o'clock. But in Brazil, if you're invited to a party and they say, so here's the American versus the Brazilian. So I had a Brazilian woman say, can you come to my party? It's at 2. So I get ready and I come at 2, and I'm the only one there, and she's not ready, and it's just me. And 2 really means, can you come at 8 p.m.? So the party's really tonight. And so there's this big difference between times of, okay, well, we're supposed to be there at 6. Well, we can get there. My husband will say, it's okay. We'll just get there whenever. There's no time thing with Brazilians with the United States. Like, you need to be there at 6. It's just whenever you get there, which is always kind of awkward for me. And then
sometimes it's work also here, but
so what is your time? Is it Americans are very strict about time, and then I've realized dealing with different cultures, I have to adapt, but Americans are like, it's 9 o'clock, and then other countries are like, well, we'll just get together when we do, or we'll get together sometime. So what is your culture like?
We're also strict. In business, it's also always strict. So
strict, okay.
Yes, but in the parties, of course, if you come in half an hour after, you will be just right in time.
Yeah, well, that's true here too. But Brazilians are a little bit more casual with, why don't you come 6 hours later? It's okay. So I want to ask you about your COVID experience. So COVID, as we're still having some issues over here, which I can talk about, but none of us were expecting a global pandemic. And so that's been kind of a shock. So clearly, talk a little bit about your experience with COVID there, and then we'll talk about some of the silver linings or the nice things that we saw from this. And then where are we now with that? Because we're still having issues with COVID here in a different way with supply chains. So, okay, go ahead.
So Ukraine go to lockdown in previous January. And it's changed country, I think, a lot, especially in business, in marketing, because companies have to adapt to situations. People were sitting at home, afraid, and that was the time when all the retail stores start to ship products online. Previously, we have only several companies who do this, but now every retail store have online shipping to home with masks, with all COVID safety. Our company also faced the problem that we were not prepared to online work for our employees, but I think our IT team worked even then great. We switched to online work in 1 week. We managed our servers to work in the way we want, and we have a big company. It's about 1,000 workers now. We have production that is working all the time, non-stop, and we produce the product that cannot be stopped. It's baby food. So
Okay. So you're producing a product that everybody needs.
So we have to be even twice more safety than other, because we are making product for babies. And that's what we did, all the safety for the workers with costumes, masks, gloves, and etc. with tests. And back office was working from home. And that's what gave us even more productivity, because people start to be more conscious about how they work. And when they work at home, they doing sometimes even more, they're more inspired, or they feel more comfortable, and they give a better product. It was really interesting. And what was interesting to look how the restaurants and cafes was adapting to this. We have launched in Ukraine about 2 or 3 delivery companies that start to deliver from every cafe, every restaurant, and that's what all the people are using now. And now I don't think how to order food for my supper, for example. I just push the button and I have this. Half an hour we don't have this, and now it's like part of our everyday life. It's pretty interesting how fast we adapted to this. Of course, one of the biggest restriction for me, it was a travel restriction, because I like to travel with my wife in different countries, and it was a pity that we cannot meet with people that we wanted all this time. But we understood that it's better for everyone to stay at home, and the safety is higher than your enjoyment, or how can I tell it. But I have a success to be in Istanbul when we have 2 or 3 weeks out from lockdown. But the Istanbul or Turkey were in very strict lockdown, when all the natives have to be at home. And I saw the Istanbul with no people. It's 20 million people living in Istanbul. It's one of the crowdest cities in the world. And when you walk on the streets, on all the sightseeings, and see no people, it's you have different feelings. From one side, it's interesting because you are the only one who's walking there, and you feel like you're a sultan of this place. But from other hand, you understand that people are sitting at home and cannot go out, but the tourists are there. So I think the countries who have a lot of budget from the tourism, they suffered the most. I have friends, for example, in Sri Lanka, and one of the main budget source is tourism, and they suffer a lot for now. And they even cannot invite people from other countries to visit them because of the restrictions. And they have only fruit, tea, and spices export for now to survive from all countries.
We some of the
For
issues we have here currently is it's very strange. So the first thing, so around June 30th, so we'd been in a severe lockdown and we were wearing masks. And around June 30th, the government was controlling a lot of this, which in most of our history, we haven't had a lot of governmental intervention in our work, for example, or our livelihoods or our mandates. So we were mandated to wear masks, and June 30th they said you can take off mask. We were in November and December, we weren't allowed to visit with our families. We had to be quarantined within the family in your house. So for Christmas and Christmas time and Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve, there was nothing to do. There was nothing open. Everything, most of the hotels there was nothing available to go to. So we were all quarantined at home. So in June, they said, oh, you can start having concerts. You can start going to sporting events. You can take your mask off. And everybody was really cautious of this because we had just been in a severe lockdown, and every time there's a little bit of freedom, it's a severe backlash. So what's happening now is when they opened some of the restaurants, there were 25 people waiting in line to get into a restaurant, and the restaurant put a sign on the door and said, we don't have enough employees, we can't serve you, and closed and locked the door. A big international chain, Taco Bell, posted the other day they're closing. I don't know how long they're closing. They said they were closing because they couldn't receive food. They couldn't receive the ingredients they needed to do the food production. Most of the retail stores look very empty because unfortunately, the United States had started relying on outsourcing to foreign countries. So we don't have a lot of production in the United States. So all of the production that was going on in Asia and India and these different countries, we're not receiving product. So there's a shortage right now of clothing. We're expecting somewhat of not a food shortage, but prices are going up because some of the importing that's going on, such as food, the transportation costs have gone up times. They might have been 3,000. Now they're going up to 10,000. So we're expecting that a lot of the food prices are going to go up substantially. So we're still having a lot of repercussions, and now we're being told to wear a mask again. We have to wear, a lot of us have the vaccine. If you have the vaccine, you still have to wear your mask in public places. So now we're back to wearing them in department stores and grocery stores and things like that. So it's just, it just keeps going. It's just been really interesting. So we're at about 33 minutes. So I wanted to ask you really quickly. So two things. I wanted to ask you some of the things. So what would we see and do in the Ukraine? What are the things that we would like to see? And from some of your photos and things, I like the holiday season and the culture and the folk culture seemed really interesting.
Yeah, there's one more thing about the COVID, that these tourism restrictions give a big opportunity for Ukrainian to see their own country, because we have so many interesting places here inside.
So there's promotion to travel within your own country?
Yes. Okay. All the travel bloggers that used to go abroad, they are now, everyone is promoting Ukraine, and we have really interesting places. For example, for me, I'm visiting mountains every winter for skiing, but I have never been there in summer. Previous year, I visited our Carpathian mountains with hiking, and it was great. So I think in 2 weeks I will going also for hiking in Carpathian. So number one, it's western part of the Ukraine where the mountains are, when the other, the Western culture, and we have interesting cities like Lviv, like Ivano-Frankovsk, that are more European style in architecture, and it's one hand. And other hand is Odessa, of course, the city that I lived in, and We have, of course, this sea, interesting history about the city. We have a lot of people very famous that came from Odessa. Also, Odessa is well known for its humor culture, because all our life, all our talkings, idioms are about the humor. It's self-irony or humor about someone else, and it's part of our life every day. And of course, we have the capital, where it's pretty different. And so main cities, western part where the mountains are, the south with the sea, with the Bessarabian culture, with this wine culture also, and the capital on the north with megapolises when
I love all
quite
the
different
history. I'd love
and
to visit.
interesting.
And
So
one of the things about
welcome
that whole
everyone.
side of the world is there's just so much history that's so interesting. In your country too. I'd like to see is the Black Sea, is it a swimming sea, or is that what's the talk about the Black Sea? Is there deposits of minerals in it that make it black?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's not just the name of the sea. It's low on salt, because it's on the end, like from Mediterranean Sea to, so it's the last sea here in the place. But we have pretty interesting salt lakes with high salt level, like in near the Israel, like the Dead Sea. And with healthy, like not clay, like I always call it. It have to be have another word, but healthy dirt that you put on your skin, and it's very high in minerals, and
okay, so it's
well
like
known all over our countries.
Okay, so it's like what I'm trying to think of. The hot mineral water. I'm trying to think of the water coming from the earth. The hot mineral water. Yeah, same kind of thing.
Yes,
with really nice water for your skin. Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yes, mineral waters here on the south, and
so okay. In closing, so what are some of your successful tips for business people or entrepreneurs? Some of the things that you think have made you successful. And I think in different cultures we have different experiences with that.
Yes, what I see now from other people and from me myself, sharing the information that you have with people, it's the best thing that you can make to help people to grow and to let people know about you more. So don't be afraid to say what you think, and give the insights to the people that you want to connect, and this will help you to grow your reputation and grow knowledge about yourself. This that I found that is working, the sharing the experience that you have, and sometimes people just holding it inside and don't want to give it outside for free. I mean, sometimes it's work, and also a good story make the product successful. That's what I think. For now, I'm developing the baby food brand for export, and it's based on the mother love. The brand name is Mama Knows. The idea was that only Mama knows what's the best for a child. And behind this story, we have some cute fruits that are dancing on the package or the pouch. And from the first surveys that we have from the clients, they liked it a lot. And it's also one more point for the story makes the product.
That's nice too. Okay, so we're at about 39 minutes, so we'll just kind of close here. And so I'll just talk to a little bit about Time to Wine broadcast is on. We feature experts in wine, social media marketing, leadership, and marketing. And I'm always interested in what business people have to say. So I may need to just start another one that's just featured experts in business. But I'm currently about to start doing LinkedIn Live, and people are asking to do live broadcasts. It's a little bit difficult sometimes between countries, but we're making it work, and we're doing these recorded broadcasts really well. So each speaker is featured on LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, and it's at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the live stream broadcast is at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, and Twitter. And so, thank you for contacting me. You know, we met on the internet, so that's the other thing.
Yes.
What's so interesting during COVID is a lot of us sat here and worked with each other while we were sitting at home scared, and we were doing these live broadcasts and continually networking with each other the entire time. And so we met on Twitter, and when I started this Time to Wine broadcast, it's been really wonderful. I've had people fly here to meet me, and so it's just, this was prior to there being a severe lockdown, but it's just been a really wonderful way to meet people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And it's been really nice to introduce all of us to each other, I think. And so thank you so much for joining in from the Ukraine, because I'm really interested in visiting and I want to hear more about it. And we have a, 9, is it? Okay, tell us what time it is where you are.
It's 7:45 p.m.
Okay. And it's 9:45 a.m. here. So in the morning. So one of the things with the Time to Wine situation, it's a very international broadcast. So some of us are drinking tea and coffee, and the other one of us is drinking wine in the evening. So a different situation. Okay. Thank you so much. And I'll end the broadcast now. And we'll just do this.